Can you hear me? Yes, and see me too. Okay, so I think we gave already 3 minutes. I will prepare the screen. My colleague Carlota will record this webinar just to let you know. So let me start. So the people who are on the line, two of them already know us, and there is a colleague of mine from CaixaBank, Piotr. Thank you for joining today. This is a webinar that we are doing in partnership with our trustee member, Desjardins. It's a very important bank corporation based in Quebec. Covering business with companies and individuals across the country. So I want to say some highlights about the chamber. We started almost 3 years ago, and our mission is to promote and facilitate the economic relationships between the Canadian and the Spanish businesses. And the journey has been a good one so far. We have more than 45 members up to date and a strong support from the Spanish embassy. We have been doing a lot of events last year. That was our more important year regarding the activity. So we did more than 8 in-person events and 5 online webinars. And we are very proud of that. And for this year, for 2023, we have a lot of things going on too that we are going to inform all of you very soon. So here on the right of the screen, you can see some of our partners and members. So the upcoming events that I was commenting for 2023 are mainly 2 webinars that we have with Desjardins, one that is today for mainly addressed for companies, and one on March 8 for individuals to prepare the financial preparation for the immigration. No? Then we are planning a breakfast event in Vancouver, the 20th of April, along with the Spanish embassy to talk about investment opportunities in Spain. And we are going to be also hosting an event in Seattle, Canada, in Toronto in the month of May. More things will come in terms of networking events, and we will be commenting very soon to all of you. So today we have Sabine Lajoie, Senior Business Advisors for Newcomers and Communities in Canada, and Marika Tassoni, also Director, Business Development of International Business for Desjardins. So both of them will give us an overview of doing business in Quebec and Ontario. So I will pass the word to them. Let me stop my presentation. Oh, sorry.
Barbara, we can.
Tell me that
we don't see your presentation.
Oh, sorry. I thought that you were seeing my presentation. I'm so sorry.
No, we just see you.
Oh my God! Wow, what a pity. You should have told me before. So okay, I don't need to stop my screen. Then you can do it. Go ahead.
Just give me a moment. Just gonna get the presentation going. Can you all see it full screen?
Perfect.
Perfect, great. So thank you, Barbara, for the opportunity. So the presentation is mostly about setting up a business in Quebec or Ontario. Myself, Barbara already presented me. My role at Desjardins is really to be a unique point of contact for companies from abroad that wish to open a business subsidiary either in Quebec or Ontario. We also cover Canada, but mostly we're present here for the moment. It's really to help you be a part of Desjardins to simplify the processes so you don't see all the inside turmoil that sometimes can happen in a big corporation, and you always have somebody to assist you according to your need and services. And Sabine?
Yes, alors, good morning and good evening, everybody. My name is Sabine Lajoie. I am French Canadian. I immigrated from France 17 years ago. In Desjardins, I'm specialized in assisting newcomers who wish to start a business in Canada. And it's a pleasure for me to be with you today. At the beginning, we can present you Desjardins, a key partner with KXA Bank and Barbara. Next, yes. Alors, choosing Desjardins means being part of a large cooperative. Donc, Desjardins is the largest cooperative financial group in North America. Desjardins each year and in 2021 redistribute funds to its member and communities. And in 2021, it's $514 million. In Desjardins, we are over 50,000 employees to meet your needs and 7.5 million members and clients. A vast distribution network in Quebec and Ontario with 200 case and 700 point of service. And we have online service on Accedi 24/7 on the week. Alors, our purpose is to contribute to improving the economic and social well-being of people and communities with next. In Desjardins, we offer several services for your personal and professional needs, like opening personal and business account, employer solution, insurance, life and health insurance, investment and financing, and budget planning advisory services. And now I let Marika present you how to setting up a business in Quebec and in Ontario. Marika, why Quebec?
Thank you, Sabine. So the next section will focus mostly on Quebec because we have more data on it at the moment. And I can tell you a little bit about my background. Before coming to Desjardins, my role was to assist foreign companies coming to Quebec. So I'm personally more knowledgeable about that province, but we have a lot of resources and partners and internal resources as well that can help you understand Ontario, and then the rest of the presentation will cover both. So, well, free trade agreement, it's for Canada as a whole. You know, we're the country with the highest number of free trade agreements. So coming here, it's easy to do business with the States, of course, and Mexico, but also with other countries, especially for you since you're already in Europe, with Asia. We're really close by a big business centers such as New York, Toronto, Boston, really quick by plane, but you can do it by car as well. One thing that is interesting to know, since you're in Europe, you know, there is a big energy crisis right now. In Quebec, 99% of our energy is hydroelectricity, so it's green, renewable, and quite cheap. And if your business needs transport infrastructure, you have access to a lot of international airport, railway network across Canada, but also going to the US. And the port in Montreal is the second largest in Canada after the one in Vancouver. Setting up a business in Quebec, again, these sections are quite the same for Ontario. The numbers can change a little bit. But Canada has always been renowned for its R&D, the amount of money we put in R&D, but also the involvement of companies with universities. In Montreal, we are also renowned for our AI hub. We also have one really strong in Toronto with a lot of different accelerators. University, if you look at the newly university graduates, it's 50,000 only in Montreal because we have 11 universities and we have the 6th highest concentration of high-tech jobs in North America, but at low cost. You can get the talent, the brains here, but it's cheaper. Here you see some data on the comparison with the US and the G7 average. So you can see that our costs are competitive, and that's even before applying tax incentives from the government. And what I like to tell a European company before in my previous job was that coming to Quebec is kind of a soft landing in North America, because we have still a very European culture, but mixed with North American business mindset. So it's just a soft landing to get used to how you can do business in North America. But there are two questions: how to start a business in Quebec and Ontario again, and how do you find financial support? So let's start on what you need to think about when you start a business. Now, the following section apply to both a foreign business that want to open a subsidiary here, or a foreign entrepreneur, for example, that want to open a Canadian business. I'm personally work more personally with subsidiaries, but we have people internally working with entrepreneurs. So those are 10 steps or 10 elements that you need to look at. You can change the order, but mostly it always starts with incorporation and opening a bank account, managing bookkeeping, taxation, and organizing payroll. I will talk a little bit about it later. Recruiting talent. And it's funny because a few years ago when I worked with attracting companies from abroad, and I'm talking quite a long time ago, they were looking at where it costs less to do business. But more and more we see businesses focusing on where they can find talent, because it's really hard to get talent and it's hard to keep them as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then finding an office, maybe with the pandemic, it's less a current topic, but still you need to look at that. Announcing your arrival in Montreal, it's really important, because even if, or this is Montreal because it was Montreal International, but same in Canada, even if you know the language, either it's French or English, we have specificities about languages. You need to work with local partners to announce your arrival in Canada, to really share the message and reach out the most people. I'm going to start with legal concept. Again, we are not legal experts, but we are used to work with foreign companies. So it's just an overview, but if you need further information, feel free to ask by email and we can find the information or refer you to other people. So there are a few ways you can incorporate a business. You can be self-employed. So personal, professional status are combined. You are your own company. You can have a representative office in Canada, but you cannot do commercial activities if you do that. So usually it's not really the way that businesses will choose. But if you want to learn about the market, that could be an option. You can open a branch, but if you open a branch in Canada, the parent company abroad will remain liable in the regard of the law. Most of the time, the foreign companies will choose to create a subsidiary, so a corporation. If you're an entrepreneur, you will probably also open a corporation. And then the legal and tax liability is solely, most of the time, on the subsidiary. And you can incorporate two ways in Canada because we are a confederation. A corporation, to create one, you don't need share capital. You can do any activities, of course, as long as it's legal. The directors of the board will be liable for tax purposes, and there are no liability for shareholders, usually. Like I said, there are two ways of incorporating in Canada. And here I wrote Quebec. It's the same for Ontario. So either you incorporate at the federal level, so under Canadian law, But then you need at least one person or 25% of the directors on the board that need to be Canadian residents. It also costs more. So usually foreign companies choose to incorporate at the provincial level, but really it depends. You really need to be accompanied by a lawyer to help you with that. That's also really to show you the difference in combined corporate tax rate. In Quebec, Ontario, it's the same. It's about 26.5%. I added a few information about other states in the US to just show you the difference if you are not sure yet that you want to open in Canada or in the United States. Other matter related to taxes that I mentioned before, it's more on an employee level. You have to deduct some amount from the payroll, and you need to contribute also as an employer to some programs. For example, the pension plan of Canada, for example. It's complex to calculate. Usually in Ontario and Quebec, it's about 6 to 10% that you will deduct from the employee payroll. And then you will also contribute about, again, it depends on the size of the business and the salaries of the employees, but it can turn between 10 to 16. But because it's so complex, Sabine mentioned the employer solution. Employer solutions at Desjardins is mostly payroll management, time management, and HR management, so scheduling and so on. It's important for you, and I like to push it forward because even if you only have one employee locally, either in Quebec or Ontario, you can have access to that services, and it can save you a lot of time because there are so many norms or standards that you need to know related to HR and payroll. It's really hard for a new business to do. So that's also a solutions that we can provide you with just to make your life easier, especially if you come in for a first time. And our payroll management solution is really widely used in Quebec. Another thing that you need to look at. So to start a business from scratch in Canada, you need to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, usually. You can also do it if you're part of a program, the entrepreneur program, the investor program, and the self-employed program. However, if you want to create a subsidiary, it can be almost easier than that because you create a subsidiary and then you have access to an intra-company transfer. That's a closed work permit that allow somebody from the parent company, usually in a management position that has been there for at least a year, to transfer to the subsidiary to help open it. Again, really important to be accompanied through those processes because there are a lot of processes and you need to find the right one according to the employee you want to, or the person you want to bring in here. And if you make a mistake, it can complexify a little bit the processes afterwards. So really make sure to be accompanied through those processes. After you incorporate, you can open a business account from abroad. So you don't need to come here. It's free. The only thing you need will be Quebec Enterprise Register number. You can just register your company online. You need a referral letter from your financial institution in your home country, a company organization chart, and also for each person that will have signing authority in the account, we need their information and passport. And you can be authenticated, for example, in Spain, either by a CaixaBank or a Canadian embassy or lawyer and notary, but then it costs quite a lot of money if you go that way. So we suggest you go through either CaixaBank or the Canadian embassy for that. In Canada, we use mostly a fixed fees plan according to a number of transactions for your account. And it can evolve. You only need to tell us about your needs at the moment, and you're not stuck with that plan after. You can increase it if you need more. But it's important to know that your checking account, so the everyday account, cannot have a negative balance. It's used for payment, transfer, withdrawals. But then you can have access to a credit card. The credit, as you may know, because I think Spain is quite similar to here, it's used to build the credit history, make online purchases. So it's a deferred payment account, if you will. But it's really important because, as I mentioned, it can help you build your credit history. Your credit history in Canada is based on the company history. Yes.
Can I stop you?
Of course.
We have a question.
Go for it.
It is necessary to be in person to open the bank account, or it can be done from another country?
Yes, so exactly. I'm going to go back here. So you can do it from another country. So let's take, for example, Spain. You're in Spain. You want to open the bank account. You can go online on the Desjardins website. Start the opening process. You need the elements that are shown on the slide. So the company registration, you can do it from abroad, referral letter from the financial institution, company organization chart, and the information for the person with signing authority. Then you need authentication of those people. You could come to Canada to do it. We would be happy to do it for you, but you can also remain in Spain and go through a CaixaBank because they are a partner with Desjardins, or go to the Canadian embassy. So that those two ways are the cheapest ways to authenticate. And then you can make international transfer in the account. So I hope that replied to the question.
Thank you.
I'm going to continue. So yeah, the credit history, credit payments, financial history. So of course, when you come in as a subsidiary, you don't have a credit history in Canada. The credit history will be used to get loans, for example, purchase of credit, access insurances. But depending on your situation, we can help you with that. So for example, if you are a member of CaixaBank, we can do a guarantee letter that it's between the banks. And if CaixaBank wants to guarantee your business for a specific amount, then Desjardins will be able to do it. So it's really important to talk about to us about your needs, because then we can see what's possible to do. If you're an entrepreneur, we highly suggest to have a credit card, but pay it on time to build your credit and then be able to access loans if you're an entrepreneur for your business. One thing that is really important in Canada is your business plan. If you want funding or financing or access some government programs for subsidies or loan guarantee, I'm going to talk about that later. It's really important to have a business plan to talk about your project, what you expect. Usually it's based on the next 3 years, at least for the government. How many people you want to hire, how many revenue you think you will make, what are your needs as well, how do you fit in the ecosystem locally. So that's all elements that will help you access money and just get also business partner if you want some. So that's really important to focus on. Again, if you want information about that, if you want help, we can refer people, we can help you with that as well. Just let us know. But it's really key to make when you make plans to come to Canada. So generally, there are different ways to get funding. There are a line of credit, so it's more short-term, conventional term loans, so that's more long-term. There's venture capital, crowdfunding. So that's just the general area. But on top of that, after you'll have, for example, government programs as well.
Marika,
yes.
Can I stop you for a question?
Absolutely.
Okay. How long does it take to set up the company to be able to operate with all the bank's procedure done in real terms?
It really depends on the sector, I would say. I'm going to stay here for the moment. Incorporation can be really fast, and then opening a bank account, it depends on your sector. Usually, and Sabine, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it goes from a week to a month. A month, I would say it's quite long, but some, for example, if you're in the business of money transfer, we need to check the company a little bit more because we're a financial institution. That's quite the same across financial institution, but if not, it can be shorter. Sabine, I don't know if you have something to add.
Yes, Olaf, if Piotr, if you want to know all the step and the during depend, it's a filial. I don't know in English. Sorry, my English is not very good. A filial, what, Marika?
It's a subsidiary.
Is subsidiary, and if you have help to a lawyer, if you have immatriculation in Quebec or in Ontario and open the account, Marika, right to 1 week or 1 month, depends.
So these are some examples. It's more for entrepreneurs. It's some programs that Desjardins started. You need to be permanent resident, but if you're already in Canada, it's interesting to look at because it can help you access financing if you're not necessarily eligible to traditional loans with the credit history and so on. So the first one is Creavenir, and you will have access to services like coaching and mentoring, also to build your business. And the other one is solidarity-based finance program, is the microcredit to business. So again, it's an access to financing, and you can also have access to technical support and personalized coaching. So that's for more the entrepreneur side. Another thing that I think it's really important for you to know about is the government programs. We have a tool with Desjardins and Fundica to help you understand all the government funding and support that your project could get, either in the form of grants, loan guarantee, tax credit, depending on your sector of activity. It's across Canada. So you have programs that are at the Canadian level. You have some programs that are at the provincial level. So that will help you navigate and understand everything you could get access to. But just to give you some example of programs, those are the most used programs, I would say, in Quebec for foreign companies coming here. I'm going to start with the right side first. So the right side are tax credits mostly. If you are in the IT field and you are developing software, the most popular is the e-business tax credit. That's only in Quebec. You won't find it across Canada. You can get up to 30% on salaries back when you file your taxes. And for a big part of that tax credit, it's refundable. That means that you don't need to make revenue at first to access that money. The government will write you a check. So that's really the difference between refundable and non-refundable tax credits. Next, you have R&D. So the R&D tax credit is actually twofold. You have the federal one that is 15% non-refundable. That means you need to make revenues to access it. However, you can push back that money up to 10 years if you don't make revenue at first. You can keep it in the bank with the government, and when you start making revenue, you can apply it when you file your taxes. And then you have, so that's 15%. On top of that, you have the provincial level. That's really depending on the province. In Quebec, it's 14%, and it's non-refundable. That means you can not make money. And you understand that if you create an R&D center, for example, in Canada, it won't make money It's a cost center, at least at first. So that is really interesting for you to look at Quebec to do it, because you will get money back on the salaries. In Ontario, it's not 14%, it's 3.8% for foreign companies, and it's non-refundable. So again, you need to make revenues to get it. The tax holiday is actually for your employees. So if you have an expert or a foreign researcher, and then you have some criteria that you need to follow, I'm not an expert on that. If you want to bring them in Canada to work, they could be eligible to a personal tax holiday in Quebec. So in Quebec, you have to file your taxes both at the federal and provincial level. So that's a tax holiday for the provincial level. It's over 5 years. The first 2 years, they won't have to pay Quebec taxes, only the Canadian one, and then it decreases to 75, 50, 25, and then they pay like everybody else here. On the left side, again, I'm going to start by the bottom. I'm not doing it in order. The label development one is really interesting. It's actually a grant. You can get up to 50% of eligible costs to either support your the creation of your HR management team, or, and that is mostly used for training. So it's, I would say, a bit easier when you open a business at first to access it. You want your employee, for example, you're a manufacturer, you want your employee to understand how to operate your the machinery. You can put that in that. If you need them to learn some skills that are transversal, meaning that they could use the same skills in another business, you could just put it in the application. We also have some partners that can help you with that. The other one is the SR program. Yes?
At the effect, Marika, it's very complicated to receive any government help. And what kind of help do you provide with little companies?
For little companies, I'm going to start with the little section, the second section. For little companies, it really depends on the size. You have some, if you're a startup, for example, we have an organization called Startup Montreal in Montreal again. You have the same in Ontario, especially in Toronto. Those incubator accelerators can help you with that. Other organizations are looking at not necessarily bigger companies, but mostly at the size of the project you want to do here, how many people you want to hire. If you don't have access to those partners, and again, I'm talking mostly about Montreal because I've been working on Greater Montreal for a very long time, but you have other partners also that can assist you with that. Apart from those partners, the ministry is in charge of giving the money. For example, the labor development is the labor ministry, if you will. They actually meet with companies to explain the program and how they can apply to it. So they're really there to explain the processes. How easy it is to get it. For the tax credit, it's automatic. If you're eligible, you can apply to it. For the labor development grant, you have to respect the criteria and fill the application if your project is interesting and you can prove that the skills are transferable to other companies. There are no limit in the money you can actually access in the pool. Like the limit of the grant is 2 million per company, but the pool of money eligible is not limited. For the SR program, and that's a little trick that I would tell you, and that's for bigger companies though, but a little trick is to not share necessarily publicly that you will come to Quebec before applying the money, especially for the SR program. The SR program is used to convince companies from abroad to come in Quebec. So if you already announce that you're coming anyway, it's going to be more difficult to get it. There are a lot of smaller programs for smaller companies. I know them less by heart, but that's why we partnered with Fundica, because there are so many programs, it's really difficult to know all of them. But using that platform, you will be able to find all the programs that are applicable to smaller companies as well. So I hope that answered your question. That was mostly the last slide for me. I would take other questions, but I think that the main point is you have a project, you want to come here, talk to us first, and we'll share resources if we don't have the answer internally. But we are, like Sabine said, over 50,000 people. We have a lot of answers to give you, but you really need to ask for that. So I'm going to stop the sharing, and you can see my email address here. Feel free to reach out to me, and I think the Chamber of Commerce will also share my contact information, but feel free to reach out. But if you have any other questions right now, I would be very happy to answer.
Thank you, Marika. Really interesting. I think you have given lots of tips, very good ones.
It's a lot of information.
Yes, but I think it's a good starting point for a company thinking of coming to Canada to talk with you, as you have this overall overview of the things they need to do apart from opening the bank account, right? The good thing of your services is a comprehensive service that you can provide an advice of the different steps they need to follow.
Exactly, and that's why this position was created. It's really to look at the bigger picture than only the bank account. And we won't have all the answer, but we have the people who can assist, that's for sure.
Exactly. Yes, we have one more question from Ignacio, Toronto. For all this financial advice, it is necessary to enroll in one of the Desjardins products? Or how can I get financial advice for my project? It seems that he has a project.
Well, for us, our goal is to obviously have more members. And one thing that is really, we didn't really talk about the difference between members and clients, but because the reason why we talk about members, like Sabine mentioned, is because we're a cooperative. So you have like a writing vote for that. If you are not with Desjardins, you have a lot of resources outside. I think, Barbara, you mentioned you were in Ontario, Toronto, maybe. You have organization in Toronto, for example, like Toronto Global or accelerators that can assist with more of those advices. But if you are looking at getting maybe financing from Desjardins, you're welcome to come ask questions.
That's great. That's great. I don't know if anyone else has more questions, or Sabine, if you want to add something. Sabine, you have something to add, or are you okay?
Oh, sorry. I'm okay with Marika.
Okay, fantastic. So
I read the question.
As I hadn't the chance to share the presentation at the beginning, before we finish, I would like to share briefly. Let me see this slide. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Only to mention to the ones attending this event, thank you very much for joining us today. The upcoming events of the Chamber are here on the screen. March 8 webinar with Desjardins again, but in that case to talk about the financial preparation for immigration addressed to individuals. Then on April 20th, we have a breakfast event in Vancouver with the Spanish ambassador to talk about investment opportunities in Spain. That's an in-person event. And then we are planning as well to be present at CIAL Canada in Toronto in the month of May with a breakfast that we are pending to confirm the details, but we will send this very soon. Apart from these ones, we will have other in-person events in Montreal and in Toronto for networking that we will also send the information very shortly. And of course, the most important one of the year is in November 14th, our gala dinner in Casa Loma in Toronto, that we hope to have the same level of success that we had last year with more than 140 attendees. So this is everything for today. I want to say thank you to Marika and to Sabine for sharing all this knowledge with us. I think it's very useful and the presentation very complete. So as we will have this recorded and available for our members, most likely we will have some questions following the webinar.
It would be our pleasure to answer.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody.
Thank you to all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.